what do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis. Inspiring all of us to be better, look better, make better bets, have a better weekend, whatever it is in our lives. And our Thursday night show, presented by our friends at Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook, and the Firekeepers Casino down just near Battle Creek, between Battle Creek and Marshall and Kalamazoo along I-94. Great place to look. If you've never done the in-house sportsbook experience, highly recommend it. Great weekend to do it during NFL playoff games. You can camp out Saturday, camp out Sunday. Championship game Monday night. Great time to try it out. Or just download the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app today and play the games with us. Jason, how you doing, man?
I'm not talking about Michigan.
What's up, buddy? Did you call Izzo at midnight after the Nebraska game? He said he wasn't going to talk about Michigan. I said, give him a call. I wish I would have heard that.
You know what I'm pissed off about right now?
What's that?
You know when you make a bet and you think you've won it the whole time and you bet the wrong way?
Oh, you fat-fingered it again?
I did something stupid.
Jesus,
I was
man.
doing it on a desktop, too, so shouldn't have fat-fingered it. Just the whole night, I'm excited because I'm on Rutgers. Rutgers is covering. And then I realized I had Maryland and lost the bet.
That's terrible.
It just ruins the night.
That's complete ass.
There ought to be a redo for that stuff. Your head was in a different place, and it's the absolute worst. Yeah. We are going to dig into your Groovy Donut Twitter questions. Some great stuff tonight. Some stuff obviously on Michigan State, Michigan. Some stuff on MSU football, the Lions.
I'm not talking about Michigan.
Some fun kind of life advice kind of things that are. I'm not sure we're the right people to answer them, but we'll do our best.
Kind of like don't wear your sandals on a slippery deck.
I saw that video.
I know. Yeah, it's great to have cameras on
Was
the
that
outside
today?
of the house. Yes, it was today, and I was going to check the mail, and I'm such a lazy ass that I decided that I'm just going to walk out with my sandals, and the deck is like new. So, and all of a sudden, it was just like a bang, bang thing. I was like, and next thing I know, I'm like on my feet. I'm like, what the hell? So, I survived.
You look graceful.
I did.
Yeah. All right. Well, as we begin every show, before we dig into these Groovy Donut Twitter questions, as we begin every end-of-week show, what we are betting presented by Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Jason, what are you betting this weekend?
You know what? We're going NFL. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but we're doing a double money line. And it's going to be the Rams and the Lions. Plus 220 for the Rams and the money line. Lions plus 180 for plus 796. I'm not like Graham that's going to just bet the Packers so I can feel good about my $22 win. I'm going for it.
I love it.
And why not?
Yeah.
Week 18.
Yeah, I'm on Seattle hoping I lose. I have a Seattle and Green Bay teaser hoping I lose. And the funny thing is what'll happen is I'll lose one of them and lose the teaser. And it won't do me any good.
That would be sad.
And it won't actually help the experience at all. And I won't get the result I want anyway. This is also a weird weekend. It's FA Cup and soccer. Some weird games I'm looking at. I'll tweet out if I find something I really like. Looking a little at the Preston North End Huddersfield Town match Saturday morning. Couple games I'm looking at. I'll when I get it finagled, I'll tweet it out. But I think there's going to be, the FA Cup. It's one of those things you got to know a team's motivation, who really wants to be there. It's kind of like a bowl game, right? And so you can find some value if you can read up and get and know who wants to be there. And no better way to spend a Saturday morning than firing up like ESPN Plus to watch a little second division teams in the FA Cup. So I will be doing that.
On a delay. It's fun.
Yeah, I will be betting that on the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app along with the NFL games this weekend. I'm also on Georgia on Monday night, and I hate it. I
Given the points, huh?
Given the points, I just have a
might
feeling.
be right.
I just have a feeling that this is going to get ugly, and that's my gut feelings are always right. And hopefully, my fat thumbs won't take the wrong team like they did tonight on fucking Maryland against Rutgers. And anyway,
we're dropping MFers now.
Not thrilled by that result at all. What are you going to do? All right, you ready to dig into these Groovy Donut Twitter questions?
Of course. Eric Schultz up first. Does Maddie do enough to hold Dickinson in check? If you were studying the over-under for Dickinson points, what would it be?
So he averages about 18 a game, and so you set it about there. He obviously, what do you have, 33, 32, something like that the last time they met, and Michigan State tried to play him square up. And listening to Tom Izzo today, and they're not going to give their exact strategy, but I think they're going to be
I'm not talking about Michigan.
more creative. They're not going to let him just beat them up. And Malik Hall sort of said the same thing. So I'd be surprised if they don't help and dig down. Where do you do that off? McDaniel, maybe. I don't know where the best person is to help off of, and how they do that. And God, we don't. Maybe they'll play a zone. I doubt it. But
I think I would take the over, though. I think they're just going to let Dickinson do his thing and shut everybody else down.
Well, and we'll see what. I mean, this is the next real challenge for Sissoko. He obviously held up against the first two, and when he, Gonzaga and Kentucky, and so
those were the good old days.
Yeah, we'll see what he does here, and if he can keep himself out of foul trouble, and the atmosphere will be fascinating with Dickinson there, and but so I was setting the over under. I would set it as average, and you would take the over. Yeah, I'd probably take the over too.
Because I thought it would be set at like 20. So,
and to me, in check is a guy has to work for his points, and it's not an auto bucket when they go to him, and that there's some turnovers when he tries to pass out of trouble, and that they can't leave him alone either. And he's got to stay out of foul trouble. There's a lot of stuff going there, but in check can mean a lot of different things. To me, if Michigan State wins the game and Sissoko makes him work, he can have 24 points. If he shoots, if he misses a number of shots and has to, and other guys don't hit, buckets, that can be held in check. So I don't know I think it's one of those things we'll have to define after the game.
Next one from Eric. I know it's a cliche, but with the January schedule that MSU faces, and given that this is the second year of a 2-year group, is this game against Michigan a must-win?
I moved the goalposts on the 2-year group. I don't know if I didn't send that memo out, but I think next year is year 2 now.
Jesus, really?
Well, next year's the class. I mean, look, I misjudged what was happening. I thought, my whole thing with last year being a 2-year group was that I thought Max Christie would be better than he was last year and also coming back. And those two things were a big part of sort of the thought of that. And now they've got this great recruiting class coming in off what I think is a really good foundation right now. So I'm going to call this a 2-year group. But I understand the point Eric's making here. He's poking fun at me a little bit. This is a must-win probably if they want to be in the Big Ten hunt when you look at Purdue and Ohio State. And as we're recording this, and we'll update that when it's over. But that's a 1-point game in the final minute. Ohio State up. I think those probably are the best 2 teams in the Big Ten. And if you want to play at that level or have a chance to have just to be in whatever, those.
So it's a must-win then.
Yes, if you're going to do that. But if you're, again, what this team becomes in terms of being a top 4 or 5 Big Ten team and maybe making a run in March, if they're a different team then than they are now, and they're playing pretty well now, that could still happen. But yeah,
would it surprise you?
For a Big Ten title, they probably got to win this. Like I said, they got to go 3-1 in these 4 games. I don't think they're going to win both games next week. I say that, and yet I watched Illinois play Northwestern last night, and that is not pretty right now. What's going on with the Illini? So I don't know that Michigan State and Wisconsin defensively is pretty good, but they're not overwhelming. Like I don't know that Michigan State can't win both those places. It's just,
but it wouldn't surprise me.
There you go.
Okay, Dominic next. Last week, you said you felt the tension and battered psyche of the MSU fan base and that the Michigan playoff run made it worse. This week, you say you're rooting against MSU because we're acting too happy about the TCU game. Hey, Dr. Couch, cool if I take a piss? That okay?
I love when Dominic calls me on my shit. And I don't know if I phrase it like that, but yeah.
Wait, what did you say?
I was something
Rooting
about
against MSU because we're acting too happy about the TCU game?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was a little
douchey.
Well, it was about the MSU fan response to Michigan, but I don't think it was phrased like that. But Dominic does not. I will say this: Dominic does not stray. He listens, and whatever I said was probably correctly stated back to me here.
Well, the next one from Dominic. Graham, before the Indiana game, you don't want to be in a bowl game if you're MSU. There's just no value in it. Graham, now, if you want to get redemption stories written about your players, then you should have gotten to a bowl game. No question here. It's just such peak couch.
All right, this non-question is our Cosmic Fries question of the day, presented by Hopcat. Too freaking good from Dominic, calling me out again. Best damn beer bar, world famous Cosmic Fries, formerly known as Crack Fries. Michigan's finest local beer selection, and local beers wherever you are. They partner with local craft breweries or local partners to create that experience for you. Lots of TVs to watch the game. You want to watch the Michigan State, Ohio State hockey, big series. People have been starting to gather for those games at the East Lansing location. Obviously, Michigan State, Michigan basketball, if you don't have a ticket, and it's a hard ticket to get, and the NFL games throughout the weekend. Great place to watch those as well. And you can always try their mouth-watering selection of burgers, including the Peyton Thorne burger, which I'm going to tell you is sometimes better than his play. In fact, no matter how he plays, I think it's fantastic. Jason even liked it without the egg. I recommend it with the egg on it. Okay. So to Dominic's point here, right. I totally get what you're saying. After the Indiana, I don't think there was a ton of value for Michigan State being in a bowl game. But it is also true that if you want to have those, like if the guys who were suspended and are now had their suspensions lifted and are back on the roster, stories would have been written about those guys had they still been playing in this postseason, and you would have had some of those redemption stories. So both things can be true, Dominic.
Next one from Dominic. Couch becoming Hunter Dickenball's personal Tom Mars is not how I expected 2023 to start. If this was a movie, this is the part where Graham rips off his mask and screams, "There is no blue wall because I am the fucking blue wall." Then he misquotes another Stringer Bell line. I'm sorry for yelling, Graham. I'm hardest on the ones I love.
I appreciate you, Dominic. Yeah. So I tweeted out, tweeted out Larry Lage's piece last night, where he had Hunter Dickinson saying a line in there about how he respects Tom Izzo. And I have heard the same, like I have heard anecdotes about that. And so
I'm not talking about Michigan.
I just quote tweeted that but I also understand why people are not happy with Hunter Dickinson, because he has made himself a villain. He is absolutely an antagonist. And it's not just what happens on the court. His podcast with those two guys who I described in the column that just went up tonight is sort of bro-ish and sometimes pretentious. He just laughs along, which doesn't help. Like, you can't do
bro,
that.
Izzo looks like Hitler.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't.
Like, what the fuck?
You can't.
I mean, we do some dumb shit on this show, but
yeah, but we don't go there. And they just it's just their personas. Funny. They are everything you would think. Like if I'm Barstool, like that is the quintessential. When people picture Barstool, that's what they picture. And it's not
basketball players.
Nah, just kind of
bro guys.
A little too broish there. You know, that I don't know. It's just not. I don't know.
Yeah, but who gives a shit what Dickinson thinks about Izzo, though?
And there are lots of
like if he respects him, whatever, he's got to say that.
And he gets caught up in that stuff. And this is the new NIL world when these guys start doing these podcasts and doing things like this, and they're not. And I think it's fine. They have free speech rather than being under lock and keys by the programs. But you are a pro now, and you're going to be treated as such. And there are consequences for being the villain, even if it's theater, even if it's performance art, which I think it is with Hunter Dickinson. That there are consequences to it, and he'll feel the wrath of those a little bit at Breslin Center.
Bo McJunkin's up next. What do you think Izzo's strategy will be this weekend in containing the 26-year-old center?
I don't think it'll be one thing, because I think last year they did a couple different things, and the game at Michigan didn't work. They tried to play him straight up, and then they,
Don't coach my team.
that didn't work, and they, a lot of things didn't work in that game. But they also, if I recall, A.J. Hoggard was either sick or didn't play at all, and he was starting to play really well. I think you will see absolute help, especially when they don't have Mady Sissoko in the game. The question for me is, when Sissoko's in, how much digging down is there? And this is a game where it's really important to have Malik Hall back because he's a very intelligent defender, and you can use him in a number of ways, and he knows how to get out to shooters. And I think Malik Hall not being in this game would have been a real problem, and I think that will help to some degree. But Michigan, not all of Michigan's guards are good shooters. Some are streaky shooters. Some are bad shooters. And digging down and helping off those guys, I think, is really important in this one.
Next one from Bo. Is there an adult in the room at the Michigan basketball building? How in the world does their center continue to say stupid as shit and not be held accountable? Is anyone in that university held accountable?
I mean, this is the NIL world. You don't go through you don't have to go through the. But
how much is he making
guys.
off the podcast?
I don't know.
Though? If I'm Juwan Howard, I'm like, can we just get him money so he doesn't do a podcast at least during the season?
Right. And because there are a lot of coaches who'd be like, dude,
yeah,
right, what are you doing? Because it doesn't help you. Now, if you can back it up, and maybe that's part of the deal. He came back when he didn't have to, and maybe they feel that is something that they got to let him do. And and the problem is, you can be on a podcast where other people say things that get you in a little bit of trouble, and you got to be careful not to go along with that. Like if he was on this podcast, we might say something that get him in trouble, right? Or Dominic might say something that got him in trouble, and if you laugh at it, you look like an asshole. So I mean, I can understand how it happens from time to time, and I don't know Hunter Dickinson well at all. Like I don't suspect he's a bad guy, and I also suspect that he's got a stupid-looking face. I suspect thank you, Jesus. I suspect he enjoys this stuff a little bit too. He enjoys poking the bear. I think he feeds off it, and but yeah, it's a good question because it does not help that team that he does this stuff.
DeUper next. The Lions have been a playoff team a decent amount of times. Why does this season feel so fun? Appreciate you. Starting off 1-6 and
unexpected, right? I mean,
yeah.
I think the other years in recent times it was like, well, they've had Stafford for 5 years now. Why hasn't this happened before? Like it should happen. Yeah. And this year was kind of like, they're just riding
complete
out
ass. They won 3 games last year. Started out 1-6.
Yeah, and we were all thinking they're just riding out the Jared Goff contract. They're not going to be that good. Even if they're a little more interesting this year, they're not going to have an offense that lights it up at times. And they've. And I think that they come across. There are teams we've all either covered or rooted for or whatever that are more likable than others. They come across as a likable team, and that goes back to Hard Knocks, which backfired on them early in the season. But I think overall, how we think of them still goes back to that time, and they're a fairly likable group. Think about some of the Michigan State teams that people have rooted for or you've rooted for. Like, you look at the Cassius Winston teams his junior and senior year. Might have been as likable a group as you'd find. And there are other ones where there wasn't quite as much. You liked them. You rooted like crazy for them. But it wasn't this group that you just felt this kinship with.
Matt Boone next. What type of tension do you see from Michigan game from fans, coaches, and players? And will football have any crossover to environment on Saturday?
Yeah, it will, I think. I mean, this is the first time these teams have played, and I think there's going to be some venom. Now, Izzo is pressing hard for it to be respectful and for fans to cheer the heck out of Michigan State. And the students may listen to them, and they're the lowest, and that helps, and it's a different environment. But there's absolutely, I mean, some of the feelings, the feelings are what they are, and the football game sets that tone. The column I wrote today was kind of about how, I mean, it was all these variables that still create these feelings, but how it's a stalemate of a rivalry. You go back 12 years and you just can't. It doesn't. If you win or lose a game or win or lose 2 in a row, it does not separate you. There's no bragging rights. Bragging rights for what?
And Michigan basketball fans don't have the passion of the football,
right? But it's also
rivalry.
That's
really
not fair. Also to Michigan State in the sense that you don't get to decide. you don't care as much. I mean, that's not
right. But you mentioned venom. I just didn't know if you have one side that's kind of like whatever.
That's true. The Michigan State football fans should try that in football sometime when they lose. Yeah, what's your field hockey team doing? Come on, man. What the fuck?
What accent was that?
I don't know. It was
Uper?
Yeah.
Weird Uper guy.
Yeah.
Matt Boone with this one. What should the chance be for Michigan? Not caw. That's too obvious. Is it? I mean, 1 for the entire team, 2 for Hunter Dickinson, 3 for Juwan Howard.
I'm very curious what Hunter Dick. I think the focus is going to be Hunter Dickinson, and there will be a lot of the stuff they do, like when Howard complains, like they do that, that stuff when the opposing coach.
What about
complains.
when Dickinson shoots a free throw or something? Start yelling caw.
Yeah, there's a.
What's this one?
I do fear because of his last name, there might be some inappropriate language.
Like what?
And you will hear all things he looks like and all that come from the zone, and
the dick is silent.
I don't hear it as bad as much where I sit now. So what's really interesting where I sit now is right by the U of M bench. I'm actually interested to this. I mean, I love that seat for this game, and you also there are zone members over there, but it's not because you're near the opposing team bench, and maybe it's because they haven't played a rival yet. It just seems to be a tamer group than on the opposite corner. So I don't know, but I'm sure there will be some things. And it's a good question what the chant should be. But I go with the cause. The cause work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not obvious.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some dude next. I think Hogard is such a unique guard for us, and I'm wondering what comparatives you guys have for him. The Cleaves thing is too easy, and Cleaves did not have the one-on-one post game that AJ has. He's not as good as these guys offensively yet, and maybe better defensively. But I got Andre Miller from Utah Utes and maybe Deron Williams from Illinois.
I like the Andre Miller comparison. I remember Deron Williams being a better shooter, even at that age, than Hogard was. But he is an interesting player, and he's such a good passer. It's a tough comparison because I've been asked this before, and I don't really have a great. There are elements of Denzel in his game, but he's not the same player. And Denzel is a junior. I'm talking about, but Denzel was built differently. He wasn't the same downhill player. Both are great passers. Denzel had a little more flair, although he's got some of that. It's a really good. It's a really good question because I'm trying to think of people who get downhill and couldn't necessarily shoot. He's a lower to the rim. Baron Davis downhill had some of that, but I remember him as like a teenager, and I don't know if his games were all that similar. But I just think of certain guys who weren't great shooters, but could.
Baron Davis could jump out of the gym.
Right,
that's 6 foot.
That's what made him different. So. Yeah, it's a really good question. It's a good question.
Well, think about it over the weekend.
When you're thinking about it, when you're pondering it, may I suggest a trip to Groovy Donuts for the donut of the week, a dark chocolate orange donut, right? This is chocolate cake donut topped with orange icing made from freshly juiced and zested oranges. The way they do this is fantastic with chocolate drizzles. It's available this Friday, January 6th through Sunday, January 8th, pre-order only. So when you may want to consider that with your pre-order, great time to put in an order for Groovy Donuts with all the football games this weekend, all the basketball. Just get yourself, 6 may not be enough. Maybe it's 24, whatever it is. Or if you got a group coming over to watch the game. Yeah. But go to groovydonuts.com. You can also swing by either location between 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday is when they're open. And that's on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing and also in Williamston.
Professor next. Which MSU hoops freshman has the best college career?
It's a good question. Who would be your, of Trey Holloman, Carson Cooper, and Jackson Kohler, who would you say is the best?
I'd go with Kohler right now.
Okay.
Trey Holloman looked good, but small sample size. Kohler looked like he was doing those one-legged shots. Maybe he's getting into a rhythm. I don't know. But I'd pick Kohler right now.
Yeah, I would pick Kohler too. And part of the reason is, as much as I think Trey Holloman's going to be a good player, I do wonder with Holloman what happens when Jeremy Fears shows up and sort of works his way into things. Like, I do wonder if I think Holloman's a really good player, and and I think one of the best things about Holloman, and Jay Nakins had this a year ago, is he understands his limitations. The guy's got, like, what did he have, 18 assists to 3 turnovers. That was before the last game. Like, he very much does not – he understands his role right now and defends hard. I do think Carson Cooper at the end of his career, I mean, he's got size that Kohler doesn't have. I think he can be a really good player. But Kohler, I think once – and you're starting to see it as he figures out this level, just has enough skill that my guess is it's him.
Professor, with this one, what is the loudest you've had ever heard Breslin and Spartan Stadium?
Yeah, I saw this. I was trying to think of it because I've heard it a few times where it's just deafening, and it's been a few years.
I mean, definitely the T.J. Duckett game.
Oh, with Spartan Stadium?
Yeah, I could hear that I wasn't at the game, but I was at a bar in East Lansing. I could hear the crowd from there. So,
yeah, it's really – so this is a hard question for me to answer because in the press box the glass is really thick. Like, we do not get a great sense from the press box of the noise in the stadium. I obviously went to a lot of games at MSU in my life and remember, maybe the Michigan game in 2000 or 1995 or something like that. But
you don't think you can get a sense of the crowd, though, if they're just crazed?
You really don't. Yeah, I mean, you get a sense you don't get a sense of just how deafening it is. It really that glass is pretty soundproof. Basketball, though, there have been a couple, end of season Ohio. There's a Michigan game late in the year, pre-COVID, that was pretty loud. A Denzel Valentine game that stands out, and I can't remember which one. Maybe it's the Valentine's Day shot to beat Ohio State. But I can picture Valentine on the court, and I can just remember my ears just ringing, the place being deafening. So there have been a few times I ought to write those moments down, and I don't because then they all string together. But there have been a few.
Mr. Bedingen up next. On a scale of 1 to 10, how shocked were you by MSU's offensive prowess versus Nebraska from tip-off to final whistle?
No, I would say a 5, if that. I mean, like less than that even. I mean, they played well. But I wasn't surprised they played well. I didn't picture that game, but I wasn't surprised that they played well. First of all, they had the energy of the Alumni Zone. They were back in Big Ten play. They had a matchup where they were slightly the better team, and they're still trying. One thing that's happened is they went through that long stretch where they were short-handed, and it was a grind. And they've had some time off. I think they're chomping at the bit to play, and they're still figuring each other out again as a full group. And so there's some energy behind that. So I wasn't stunned, but I thought they were really efficient. So I would say a 4 or 5.
Mr. Neurotic Pants. Elijah Collins stuck it out for so long, it would have been fitting for him to finish out at MSU on a strong note, right? I bet he would have had a good year. Just hot in here. Jeez.
Yeah, no, I've said this before. I'm a big fan of Elijah Collins personally. I'm still hoping to speak to him soon and do a piece on him because
if any players are listening, just be nice to Graham and he'll love you for life.
That's not really. It's not even that. You just gotta be. No.
You hated Delaney because he looked through you and
it didn't look through me. It looked through somebody else.
Oh, okay. You still hate him with a passion. I'm saying if you're nice to Graham,
fucking throat
he ends
punch
up liking
you.
you.
Look through me. Fuck that. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Cut that in post, please.
I'm gonna send it to him.
Yeah. No, it's No, I don't need guys who are overly nice. Like some of my favorite guys to cover. I mean, Keith Appling is one of them. Who obviously some things there. And I like people who are genuine, and that's what matters to me. I like covering Connor Cook, and I thought he was pretty honest with me about things. And I don't know that people would call him an overly nice dude. I don't think he's a bad guy, but you know what I mean. Like and I think that's what matters. But I did think Elijah Collins was genuine at all times, and he was respectful. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think he could have had a good season at Michigan State next year. I'm not surprised he left entirely, but I did think he stuck it out this long and they had a role. And what I don't know yet is what those conversations were with him, and I'm curious to find out.
Neurotic Pants with this one. Could you mentor Rocket Watts to greatness? 20 years from now, you'd be the inspiration for one of those sappy movies you like.
Yeah, Rocket Watts, I think, is going to wind. I don't know. He's going to wind up in European leagues, bouncing around. I just don't have a great feeling for the end of his basketball career because he's just not quite the athlete he needs to be the player he is and have that work at the highest level. And yet his game isn't growing enough for it to work as the athlete he is. And I don't know if it's going to happen for him.
That would be a great movie, though.
Just me and Rocket.
Mentoring Rocket Watts.
Graham and Rocket.
Yeah.
I like
At least a reality show. Be great.
Just be me. Can you stop me, Rocket? I got the ball.
Let me tell you about Grant Long. Neurotic Pants, finally with this one. I'm going to Ohio State versus MSU hockey this weekend in Columbus. Given what happened earlier this year, can I expect a lot of fighting?
Yeah, I mean, this is the opponent that dropped the racial slur yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how. Michigan State needs a good result, though. They can't screw around and wind up in the penalty box. They have a tendency to do that, and it hurts them at times. And this is a big series for them, and so they got to play good hockey, and I think that's what they got to worry about. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's tense for sure. It's a huge series to the point that if Michigan State wasn't playing Michigan in basketball, I thought about going down there for it.
Is it a must-win?
No, but it's because but it's a get right and get yourself back going after what happened in the GLI. And I think it's also important for a lot of these guys who are on last year's team. Last year at the midpoint in the season, they weren't a bad hockey team, at least record-wise. They're like 11-8-1, and things really fell apart. I don't expect that to happen. They're a better team this year than they were last year to this point by quite a bit. However, they have that in them, and you want to get things going again.
Gavin Haas up next. Is expecting an 8-4 or 9-3 season for MSU football fair? I really feel like this team has added needed depth and can have some true freshman impact from the 2023 recruiting class.
What do you think is fair for MSU football this year to expect?
I would go with 8-4 and hope and pray. I guess.
I mean, again, when you look at it like a schedule, we don't know. We don't know what other teams are going to be yet, right? So that's what it's hard to say what's fair and what's.
And it's always the first 3 games of the year. You get a sense of what the team is going to look like.
I think you should expect them to be better than last year, and they play Central Michigan, Richmond, all at home, and then Washington at home. And obviously Washington's got Michael Penix back. I don't know about the rest of the state of their roster, but you have to expect Washington's going to be a pretty good team, and we'll get a feel for them. They don't necessarily have to win that game. Maryland's at home. They get the first 4 games at home. At Iowa, what Iowa loses a lot of guys on defense. What are they on offense? You don't know what people are going to be. At Rutgers, there are a lot of games at Minnesota. Minnesota seems to be losing every coach in the world. Maybe P.J. Fleck will be Michigan's coach by next year. Who the heck knows? The Michigan game is October 21st. There's a lot of teams we don't know about, but I would think trying to get yourself to 8 wins and feel like you maximized who you were and maybe win a game somewhere. What they didn't do this year was win the game against a team that you feel like, boy, they stole one from somebody, and maybe have that game, and we didn't really see that.
Next one from Gavin. What's going to make the Tigers watchable this coming season?
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Tigers Gambling Update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Need.
I mean, if you just want to hear this, Gavin, you can just say so. I'll play it for you.
Pretty much, this is the SkyMint Live read, isn't it? What's going to make the Tigers watchable? Well, go to skymint.com, stock up. Maybe we can do something with SkyMint and just get a sale going into the summer where you can load up for 162 games, 162 gummies, some sort of deal, take you through the whole damn thing. And by the way, you can go to skymint.com to find the location.
When do you think they're going to have bars that we can go to and smoke? Because I'd really like to go to a bar and kind of smoke and hang out and watch football.
People don't want that, though. They'd have to be a special bar. People don't want that smell.
Well, then don't go. if you don't like it, yeah, of course.
But that's the problem. It's going to be very select bars because bars know that you lose some of your clientele with that.
If you make food, though?
Yeah, if you make really
Holy
good
hell.
food, yeah.
Yeah. Groovy Donuts next door, I mean, it would just be paradise. I don't see what the problem is.
No,
if you don't like smoking weed, yes, it would be a terrible place for you to go.
No,
I just feel like there's enough of us that would go and watch sporting events.
Think about that. If Groovy Donuts opened a Skymint sports bar,
dude,
oof,
just straight insulin right to the veins.
All
day long.
I don't know what's going to make them watchable. They have not made a signing this summer or this offseason that's made me think, hey, that's fun. And that's been a little disappointing, to be honest with you. I was hoping they would. And Sky Harris doesn't seem to be all that personable to this point either. In any of the conversations I've read, I don't know. I'm going to try and give him the benefit of the doubt. They're going to have him for a while, I would think, as the GM.
I don't care if he's personable or not. As long as he gets guys, we start winning.
Yeah,
dick all you want.
I'm a little concerned, Gavin. I'll tell you what's going to make him watchable. Not a lot of other options. That's what's going to make him watchable.
That's true. Last one from Gavin. We're both of your thoughts on how the Rams versus Seahawks will go, then Lions and versus Packers after.
I got a bad feeling about both. Jason, you think the Seahawks will win, but you think the Lions will win, right?
Well, no. I'm picking the Rams to win the game, the money line. But, yeah, that's just a sprinkle pray thing. But, yeah, I mean, the Seahawks are a better team. I mean, the Rams are complete ass. Yeah. We're praying for Baker Mayfield to pull something out there. But I really think the Lions can beat the Packers. I know the Packers have been hot, but so have we. So
yeah, and it's tough because I just can't picture it, and so like there's a lot of it's until it happens. I cannot picture the Lions winning. I just can't picture.
I haven't seen a playoff game in a long time, Graham. It's hard to picture stuff. DC Spartan next. Does Harbaugh leave for the NFL? And from Gideon, why does Harbaugh continue to flirt with the NFL after nearly every season? Just make up your mind, man. That can't be good for the locker room.
I don't, he sent out that message today. He says, don't know what the future holds, but, plans to be there or whatever. I still think if the right NFL offer comes, he's gone.
How many guys have done that, though?
Yeah.
Like, what are you supposed to say?
Right, and the offer isn't there now, and some of these teams have interim coaches, but, like with the Colts job, would that make sense for him?
And
with
you know
Irsay?
why he's flirting with the NFL? Because they cut his pay 2 years ago.
Well, no, I think it's because to
that
him,
has to grind.
I think the Super Bowl to him is the dream. And he got there once and lost to his brother. I've always thought he'll go back.
Yeah, but he wins
at
Michigan.
Point.
He's a god forever.
Yeah, but he's done that now twice.
Yeah, he made the college football playoff. I'm talking about winning a natty.
Right, but that's hard
that
to do.
TCU game was disappointing. I'm just saying if he wins a national title.
It's hard to do. Because you beat Ohio State twice. You win 2 straight Big Ten titles, beat Ohio State twice. Yeah. And obviously TCU is disappointing. But you walk off with that. That's not awful. You've kind of done what you were supposed to do.
I got to say, I don't know if I want Harbaugh to go. I think that Michigan job's really good, and I'm scared they're going to get someone better.
I think it's. I don't know. I don't know who that person would be. I don't know who
Herb.
No.
Urban Meyer.
Not at.
No.
No.
That would be the greatest day of my life. Gideon, what's the worst airport you've ever had to go through? Myanmar can lick my balls.
I'm trying to think of an awful airport. I love little airports like Lincoln, Nebraska, and State College, where you're like. You park and you're in the terminal in like 3 seconds, and security's like saying hi to you and doesn't really care what you
get
take
on a
in.
prop plane that Buddy Holly died in.
Well, maybe not that, but I'm trying to think of the worst scenario I've had. I mean, I've had some bad experiences in like just because of heat and having to run in Puerto Rico and Honolulu. But
have you ever had bad turbulence?
Oh yeah,
because when we came back from Mexico, there was a couple on the bus, the shuttle back. And they were telling us this like story from coming back from Florida. They were dodging lightning storms, and they were just like pale white. And I'm like, I have never experienced anything like that before. I would be panicky Pete.
The worst one I've had of late, and this was, I took maybe the only flight in a long time direct from Lansing to Baltimore, and it was not supposed to be direct Lansing to Baltimore. It worked out because I was going to Maryland, but I was supposed to be Lansing to D.C., that once-a-day flight. And we took 3 passes at trying to land at DCA at Reagan, and the pilot pulled up each time. And it was just so windy coming in and stormy. And I mean, the whole time I just wanted
to be hammering.
Oh my God, I wanted to throw up so bad. Yeah, no, I
might start drinking again. I don't know.
And I felt okay. I was like, okay, because I didn't really understand the passes that we had taken, exactly how harrowing they had been. as we deplaned in Baltimore, I looked at the pilot's face as we were getting off. Pretty young guy, and it was white as like he looked like he had just been through some shit. And I was like, I don't like that. I don't like. I mean, that's been my worst flying experience in a long time.
Ron Quixote with a rivalry week themed. If you were to compare Jim Harbaugh to any despot, who would it be? He reminds me of Idi Amin. Also, Graham keeps saying that he knows behind closed doors that Hunter Dickinson respects Izzo. What is the story there?
So, Idi Amin, for which African country he was? Hold on, give me 1 second. Let me see. Off, please. Thank you.
We have to Google Idi Amin.
Yeah. That's the Ugandan military dictator. I do that. Yeah. We were just talking about him before the show.
I knew that. I just want to make sure.
Right. Anyway, the Hunter Dickinson. So to the question is, I'm not going to go there because we're not going to be that podcast that compares coaches to dictators. It's never a good place to be, no matter how,
especially Hitler,
how bro-y you want to get, and then double down.
You might have to take that podcast down,
and then double down on it afterwards when you're trying to apologize. And how stupid. Anyway, it's yeah. Anyway. The idea that Hunter Dickinson respects Izzo behind closed doors in the story, I wish I had this on record. What I will say is that, I mean, those two have chatted, not in the public eye, just like and Hunter Dickinson clearly respects him. Like, one-on-one, those guys respect each other. And Hunter Dickinson, by the way, retweeted my tweet last night. I mean, so he was trying to get that out that he respects Izzo. I think he was. I don't want to because I don't have permission to use the story. But
are you going to ask him why he retweeted your tweet?
No, I don't care. Why do I care?
Oh, because people care and want to read it.
Oh no, I just think he was trying. I mean, my tweet basically was saying that Hunter Dickinson. He was basically confirming what I was saying.
I know.
Is what I would say.
I know. Yeah. Ron Quixote, over under 1 minute of playing time for Steven Izzo Saturday. Well, if it's over, that's good news. I just hope he shoots.
Yeah, they're not going to play Izzo in a blowout loss to Steven Izzo. I would go under, though.
Yeah.
Because he's always the last one in, and it's always dicey when he's in there. So you kind of have a pretty big lead.
Dicey to you.
Yeah.
Fun for everyone.
Yeah. And obviously it's likely to be a tight game. Although I will say this, I was looking and doing the column on all these, and I didn't include this in the column, but the average margin of victory for Michigan and Michigan State in their wins, which is almost is over the last, Michigan's won 13 of the last 23. I'm sorry, Michigan State has won 13 of the last 23. Michigan has won 10. Is over 10 points for both of them. Like these games tend not to be as close as you think because one team's home, they pull away late. It becomes these games have not always been that close. Not as close as you might think.
Anthony Armour next. Is Izzo telling Keon Coleman, your money isn't football? Can't have you risk that future for playing basketball. How is that different than Trannon, others who have played both, and from Tyrone Couch? Any chance Coleman not playing basketball was 100% out of his hands, and this will lead to frustration that may make future players with unique situations leery of trusting MSU. He did get a year, but I think he wanted more than just a year.
I don't know yet. I think at some point you'll have a better sense of this. But what I don't know is how much Mel Tucker didn't want him to play. How much Izzo thought we don't really need you this year, which I don't think was it, though. Because if you listen to Izzo going into that, and he said he still had to have discussions with Tucker and with Keon Coleman, he would talk about how much Keon Coleman could guard and that he thought he could be helpful. And so I don't think that Izzo was thinking that Coleman wasn't going to play. I do wonder if Coleman shows up at practice, remembers how hard this is going to be. Like if he had been able to come right out of the Penn State game and join the team a couple weeks later and had 3 weeks of practice, but you join the team, it's clear you're going to be a lot on the scout team. It's a grind. You've just done the grind of a football season, and you've gotten a taste of it. I don't know how much Keon Coleman might have thought, actually, I'm not sure I want to do this. This is a lot. and I've got to get ready for football.
I thought he loved basketball.
He does, but here's the thing: it's not like open gym. You don't show up and do Moneyball. What you're doing is you're wearing a different jersey, pretending to be the other team on the scout team. That's a lot of your work. It's a grind to. It's not. If he was going to come in to be a starter or play in the rotation a lot, it's also not a team that has a great need for him because of the backcourt it has and the athletes it has. Like where are the minutes for Keon Coleman without an injury, without foul trouble? And obviously, if there were, 2 or 3, injuries to Michigan State's backcourt, they could call Keon Coleman and say, "Hey, you want to come back out to the team?" But I also wonder what I'm.
Yeah, but I don't know if Keon Coleman can save that situation.
Yeah, no, I don't know if he could either. So I don't know the whole thing. My guess is though it wasn't Izzo driven, but I don't know that to be sure. And I don't think this will mess with other players. I mean, if they told him he could play both, they let him play both. The Malik Carr situation's a little interesting because I think he wanted to play, but and that's part of the reason he came to MSU from Purdue is that he hadn't gotten to play there, and he got to play a little last year. But I don't think I don't think this is that. But I'll find out more later.
Anthony Armour with this one. Is it just me? Are car headlights like 7 times brighter than they used to be? Getting blinded by the light.
It's a great Springsteen song.
Wrapped up like a douche. Yeah, I'm glad Anthony said this because, I complain about a lot of shit, but I have been noticing that I'm like, do they have their brights on? What is happening? It seems like everyone is either they have their brights on or these beams are crazy, or I'm just getting blind.
It does. I have flashed people in the last couple of years. No, thinking their brights were on, and they weren't.
Pull a Yui and
you're supposed to flash people the brights are on, right? Let them know.
I don't know.
I always do.
I just don't do it just because I don't want to get shot or something.
If that's what's going to get me shot, I'm in trouble because I do.
Or was that in the 90s? I thought we heard about that in the 90s. People
I think we got over that.
All right, Kirk Cousins chains next. Why is Graham such a Cousins hater? He's the most hit QB in the NFL, has the most air yards, so no yards after catch, and it's 12-4 with the 31st ranked defense. If he was the Lions QB, we'd be locking him up and building a statue.
No, I don't think so. No. I think he's a middle of the road QB who is good enough that you don't replace him. He's good enough to start, but he hadn't won. He's been on some very good teams around him, especially in Minnesota, that have not maximized who they are. Their offense right now, they've been outscored by, and I know the defense isn't great, but they've been outscored even though they're 12-4 on the season. And
so do you think Cousins would be doing the same thing Goff is doing, though? I think so.
Yeah. I don't think Cousins is worse than Goff. I'm not saying that. But I'm not ready to lock up Goff either. I'm not saying Cousins is a bad. Cousins is one of maybe the top 15 quarterbacks in the world. That's still really good.
Not saying anything. The world. What are we? XFL and all these.
Yeah.
Other
Well, there's no other.
NFL Europe.
In terms of people in the world who can play that position, he's one of the top. That's still amazing. That's pretty damn
number
good.
16?
Goff.
Quarterback
probably.
plays complete ass.
Yeah, but
terrible in the NFL.
I mean, he is. Let's see him do it in the playoffs. Let's see him lead them somewhere. And he's got a great receiver.
A goofy dude. I don't know. He's not a likable.
Well,
he is likable, but I don't know. It's the Jesus stuff all the time. It's like, all right.
Well, no, that's my own personal thing. But there was another guy I covered at Western Michigan when I was in Kalamazoo. The same thing. I don't. Yeah, if you're.
You work there?
No. Well,
Kalamazoo?
Well, I do work there. Yeah. Not Western.
Sorry to throw you off.
Sorry, threw me off. I don't even know if I want to say this because it sounds crass. We're not going to go there. But I do believe quarterbacks, college quarterbacks should be. No, I was just going to say college quarterbacks. I would like to think could take advantage of being a Division I quarterback while they're on campus. You want to be able to live vicariously through that, right? That's an idea of that would be awesome. And to not take advantage of that is disappointing.
Wow. All right.
Can we fix that in post and just take that out?
No, we'll put that first.
Damn it.
Kirk Cousins chains with this one. Will Keon regret not playing basketball?
It's a good question. If years from now he'll be like, I wish I'd done that. But I don't know 100%. I don't know how much of this is his decision. But he showed up when they weren't sure he was going to show up on the 26th. Did the week of practice, and then made that decision. So he did join the team for a minute. So he was there, and got a taste of it. And I'm wondering if
But Izzo did mention that academics were an issue, so that could possibly, I don't know.
That might
if you're reading tea leaves, like Graham likes to say, I think it's grades. The guy loves basketball.
Yeah.
I don't know why he wouldn't want to play.
Yeah.
That young of a kid. I mean,
and you don't want to screw it up academically when you're a year away from the NFL.
Right. Jarrett next. What will be MSU's best win in men's basketball this year?
It's a great question. I mean, I think Purdue or Ohio State or Rutgers right now, who I freaking meant to bet and bet the wrong way today, are the best three teams the way they're playing. And Rutgers are just locking people up. They're playing phenomenal. And so they play Rutgers at Madison Square Garden. They play Ohio State on the road. They play Purdue on the road. Do I think they could win one of those games? Let's say they win one of those games. That's their best win of the year.
Jarrett next. Do the MSU women's team have a good chance to make the tourney this year?
I think so. They started to play quite a bit better. They have a really interesting game this weekend. Hold on. Give me some hot for 1 second.
Can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me.
Okay, I wanted to check on the time. Yeah, it's Saturday, and it sucks that it's during the Michigan game pretty much because they play one of the most telling games for them. Now, obviously, they beat Indiana at home, and they played really well, and they've got a great backcourt that's figured out how to play together. They're at Maryland, which is ranked number 13, on the road on Saturday afternoon. That game, to me, will tell a lot about just, like, I think they have a backcourt, and they've got enough talent to really challenge people this year. They have a game on January 14th, a week later, at Michigan. It's ranked number 14, and then they get Iowa at home back-to-back by the 18th. We'll know by January 18th exactly what this team is.
JD up next. A month ago, I asked if letting Ron Burton go was the right move. So now with the Marco Coleman move after a season of poor run defense, I'll ask you this. Do you think Coleman was pushed out, or did he decide to go back on his own? I get he came from Georgia Tech, but it's not exactly moving up.
I think he decided to go back on his own, but I don't know why. I don't know the circumstances surrounding it. One of the things, he was only here for a year, and some of the assistant coach relationships that we used to have in the D'Antonio era are harder to build in the Tucker era because of the way they do media availability. And I think this is probably by design too, but in the D'Antonio era, you would have a lot of conversations one-on-one, even in groups, but they were informal. And you get to know people, and you'd have just much more. By the end of the D'Antonio era, you had lots of guys who you were, had a relationship with to some degree. Everything now is press conference style with these coaches. They bring in one of them a week, and it's very informal, very formal. And you just don't get to know these guys and have the same opportunity you did. And with Coleman, I had to talk to him a couple times with other reporters, and once I think they're both in press conference situations. Don't really know the guy, don't have a relationship with him, don't have a sense of this at all.
JD with this one. What the fuck is this Crystal Palace that Graham is always talking about? Isn't that the strip club Lou Williams went to during the NBA COVID bubble that has the crack lemon pepper wings? Can we say crack?
Yeah. We say crack fries. We can say crack. Yeah. Crack.
Cosmic lemon pepper wings?
Yeah, just like at Hopcat. I'm not sure Hopcat wants to be associated with the
Lou Williams?
Lou Williams. But nonetheless, Crystal Palace. Yeah, no, a Premier League team that keeps shit in the bed and cost me some coin this week against Tottenham. They usually used to be a great pick at home. Now when they fall behind, they fall apart. I am done betting them. I am off Crystal Palace for the rest of the year. We got a lot more still to come. Some great Groovy Donut Twitter questions. We're going to take a really quick break here. Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis and our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app.
Ever wondered just how comfortable you can be? Find out with Muskox high-quality flannels. Muskox is a Detroit-based company that creates durable comfort that'll last a lifetime. Muskox flannels are thoughtfully designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. This will be the softest flannel you'll ever buy, guaranteed. For every $100 purchase, Muskox will donate $10 to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. Get comfortable this fall and winter with Muskox flannels. Learn more or order yours today at gomuskox.com. Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play. Get your Vegas on right now from your phone, tablet, or laptop. All the hottest slots and tables, plus sports betting featuring in-game wagering. Download the app at firekeeperscasino.com. Go with the name you know. Firekeepers. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Wherever you are on your cannabis journey, let Sky Mint Premium Cannabis be your guide, your friend, and your place. Whether you're curious about cannabis or a seasoned connoisseur, Sky Mint's knowledgeable staff will help you with a vast selection of products to choose from to fit your needs. Sky Mint believes access to the best cannabis helps people do good and feel good, so they grow it right here in Michigan, giving you high-quality, locally grown cannabis at highly accessible prices. Visit skymint.com for special offers and location information throughout Michigan, and use the promo code CouchAndRube20 for 20% off your first visit. Sky Mint Cannabis. You'll love this place. Hopcat exists at the intersection of great beer and delicious food, complemented by music, art, community, and comfort. Home to the best-in-class beer experience served by craft beer experts. Guests can expect a casual, inviting local gathering place with some of the best damn burgers and fries you'll find in Michigan. Hopcat is proud to be an official supporter of Peyton Thorne. Show your Spartan pride by ordering the iconic Peyton Thorne burger, created by the man himself. And don't forget about Spartan basketball. Hopcat is your pre-game headquarters for basketball all season long. Catch the game at any of our locations: East Lansing, Detroit, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo, and Holland. To plan your next trip to Hopcat, visit www.hopcat.com.
Find Couch and the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite, Podcast Addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis. And our Thursday night show brought to you by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. We are digging into your Groovy Donut Twitter questions. And through this Sunday, until midnight on this Sunday, at groovydonuts.com, new year, new gear. Save 25% on all merch and whole bean coffee at groovydonuts.com. Use the coupon code New Year, New Gear at checkout. And or just go to Groovy Donuts, man. And I'm telling you, if you're like me and you're into New Year's resolutions, right about now is the point you give up on those New Year's resolutions and make Groovy Donuts. It's just a more pleasing New Year's resolution than the gym. Or
I'm back at the gym this week.
Are you?
It's kind of weird. I feel like I'm so sore now.
I've eaten well.
Everyone's there.
Everything in moderation. Doesn't mean you can't have a donut here and there. And by the way, remember this. Donuts, fewer calories than bagels. So,
bagels?
I always say that weird. Everybody gets,
bagels.
But so if you're going to cut something out of your life, it's not the Groovy Donuts, it's the bagels. And then you'll be in good shape. Bagels. Shit.
Plus size softball dad next. Is your greatest professional accomplishment in 2022 gaining acceptance on the Red Cedar message board for your pledge commit opinion?
I didn't know that had happened, but I am proud of it.
You're big on the message board.
Well, I don't think I'm big on the message board. I'm just glad that other people have taken to it. I'm flattered, to say the least. Yeah.
Next one from Plus Size. Michael Donovan has transferred. Do we know what happened to Hank Pepper?
I don't know the full story with his. Did he transfer? I don't think he transferred. Hold on one second. Whoa.
He's busy.
Peacock.
Yeah, I think Hank Pepper is still on the roster. If I missed that, it's just the injury is what I think the question is. But I don't know the extent of the injury. I don't know how it happened, and it sounded like it happened or was at least exacerbated in warm-ups. I don't know the whole thing. But Donovan is headed to Miami, Florida, and so my backup long snapper feature hopefully paid off for him.
Next one from Plus Sized. How do I explain to my wife what the sanctity of college football Saturdays now extends to the NFL playoffs, and I will be emotionally unavailable for an additional month?
Yeah, so this is tricky. You've sort of come to this agreement where it's like it's all
marriage sounds like complete ass when you guys talk about it.
No, but you
the
set
fuck is this? Wow, when you plan ahead and
you set these parameters, and what you don't realize is you weren't just talking about college football. Now the NFL playoffs are things you want to watch. You really next year it's football. It's tough because you don't give up Sundays during the regular season, but you want it in the playoffs. See, it's a tricky thing. I would
just do stuff in the morning before the games.
Yeah,
that's what I do.
Try to come up with something you're going to do together, and just try and explain how important these games are. I know that doesn't always work. I used to lie to my mom.
You hearing this, Gavin Haas?
I used to lie to
his ass.
I used to lie to my mom when I was a kid. Like I told her the Super Bowl was like 3 times a year and to watch a second game so I could see Elway play at 4. My dad.
Well, see, then you have to lie. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, you get.
Or you have a single father that lets you stay up till 1 a.m.
Yeah, the thing I would do is if she likes football at all too, or no, probably not.
Just tell her to do something else.
Yeah, because if you could bring her in on it. Or
get her hair done.
You got to watch the playoffs. Maybe do a trade off. Offer her something, or is there something?
You just say, "Hey, I enjoy watching playoff football."
Well, I'm wondering if there isn't something that she enjoys that you don't, that you could leave her alone and let her do, or something she doesn't do. Something she doesn't do because she thinks it annoys you, or you don't like it, or I don't know if you have kids, but maybe you take the kids off her hands for a little while, something of that nature.
You think I really wanted to go see an a cappella group down in Detroit?
Yes.
No, I went and did that so I can watch the playoffs without any.
I just watched
question
3 seasons of Firefly Lane on Netflix, man.
Yeah, but you like that shit.
I do like that shit, actually.
That's what I mean. You make it sound like it's terrible, but you secretly you love that stuff more than your wife does.
I mean, I a lot of Hallmark movies between midnight and 2 a.m. after my wife's gone to sleep.
Steve next. Muskegon has a luge run. Would you ever try it?
This does sound like an epic opportunity. I don't think I would, though. It sounds like
Is it like a legit Olympic sized luge, or is it just?
All right, hold on. Give me some.
I'm going to get hurt. Wow.
All right, it's at the State Park Complex, Muskegon Luge Adventure Sports Park. Where's the luge?
Do they let kids do it?
Luge.
Kids are doing it, I'll do it.
That looks it's somewhat legit. It's got wooden sides, one kind of a luge track. Muskegon Luge Track is one of only 4 luge tracks in the United States. It's the only Kunstbahn track, German for artificial track, made from a natural ice and not refrigerated. Our 850-foot track, holy shit, was designed by 3-time Olympian. I don't know if I want this. Shorter in length than the Olympic tracks in Lake Placid and Salt Lake City, the Muskegon track provides an Olympic thrill at a level first-time luge athletes can handle, though. Okay. I don't hate this. 6 curves, 2 starting areas. Public participants receive equipment and training before sliding at speeds up to 30 miles an hour. Oh, the picture of it looks a little daunting.
We have to do training, though.
Training? Well, I would want a little training, to be honest with you. I would do this. I would luge.
I would luge. Eric Larson up next. In 2020, we had a great family vacation planned overseas for spring break. Canceled by COVID, wife decides we need to instead do this year before kids out of the house. But I am now one of the 4 finalists shooting free throws at MSU games with a chance to win an all-expense paid trip for 2 to the Final Four in Houston, which lands on spring break. My wife and daughter don't care about the Final Four unless MSU is in it. I don't want to miss out on this unique chance to win a trip and experience like this. Either I enjoy my marriage. What should I do? Should I throw the competition? I won't know I've won until the last home game, potentially. So too late to plan the overseas trip for early April.
Oy, yeah, this is tricky.
This isn't a good podcast if you're engaged.
No,
marriage
but
sounds like ass.
No,
why wouldn't you want your significant other to win no matter what?
No, but he's got a daughter who's maybe a senior in high school, and this is like the last go at spring break. She's not going to want to, when she gets to college, she's not going to want to do this family trip. Maybe as a freshman you get that, But
I mean, a free throw contest though. It's a once in a lifetime thing here.
To get that, yeah, it's tricky.
Does the kid even want you on spring break though? Does a teenager?
Okay, here would be my play at this. Can you do this right after your daughter is out of school as a graduation deal? Instead of spring break, can you do this in June, this European trip?
Are you paying for college for this kid? If so, say, do you want me to keep paying for this? I'm going to do a free throw contest.
You can be that person. But
that person? Like, what do you mean?
It is a cool opportunity. I would, if there's a way, if you haven't booked any of this yet, to try to do it in June. And I understand that this is sort of taking the place of something that was canceled in COVID over spring break, and spring break's cool.
I got it.
What's that?
He let Steven Izzo shoot for him.
And miss?
No, I didn't mean it that way.
Yeah, I mean, here's the key word, though. You said, and I enjoy my marriage. So, like,
happy wife, happy life. Am I right?
I'm telling you, you know, overall, if your daughter is a senior in high school, this is the play. But if you can talk them into early June, like or right after high school, like get a graduation gift to your daughter, that sort of thing, and that would be my play.
Paul E. Show next. When does a reason become an excuse? That's deep.
Yeah, when it's not a good reason, right? I mean, sometimes a reason is an excuse, but like when it's bullshit, when it's not, you know, because coaches give excuses all the time, but sometimes they're good reasons. And I think when it stops, when it's, and you kind of know it in your gut when it's something you just can't deal with anymore. It's like, that should have been overcome that.
Next one from Paul. When will they shorten the college basketball shot clock?
I don't know that there's talk of doing it, and maybe there is, but right?
Is there talk of 6 fouls?
There should be. Yeah.
It can be in the same discussion.
Yeah.
Next one from Paul. How will the incident that happened in the Bills game change football?
I don't know that it will.
Yeah, you said not at all.
Well,
I just figured we're going to play not two-hand touch, but flag football in a decade.
I do think it's a wake-up call for football leagues and all levels to make sure they have, you know, defibrillators, like things. You have to have things on site if something like this happens, because these are things where time is of the essence. And so I think it's a good
but shouldn't you have like a defibrillator no matter what?
No doubt.
Mean, there's always those.
But it's not that long ago that, you know, there was a kid in out by Holland who
But there's one at the gym I work out at. There was one in the glass cases today when I saw it. I was like, oh.
Right, but it wasn't that long ago. Like you'd see somebody die in a high school basketball court because they didn't have them. And yeah, and I do think it's a reminder that more of us should probably go through whatever training it is to know how to do this stuff in a split second, because it matters. But I don't think it's going to change football, because this does seem like either a freak thing or something that was already wrong with him. We don't have those answers yet.
Sports Guy 1919. A lot of people and journalists were tweeting and shitting on the NFL for the 5-minute warm-up bit. However, it later came out that it wasn't necessarily true. Graham, why can't reporters and journalists continue to tweet things like this before getting 100% verification?
Yeah, I didn't think that was real responsible, and they shouldn't. And part of it first. There are a lot of shitty reporters and journalists out there. That's the answer to it.
Yeah, but where did reporters get this? So they didn't just do it on their own. They've been told they need to be first, probably.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened. Was it Joe Buck who initially said it? And my guess is, and I heard somebody talking about this on another podcast, their thought was that Joe Buck was told this was the usual, not criteria, but usual routine that happened in these situations. Not this exact situation, but whenever there was a stoppage of play.
And it's a single incident we haven't seen before.
And that he passed it on. But when and so it got it didn't get checked out. And I think there's a lot of people quick to hate on the NFL, and there are reasons. The NFL is a greedy organization. They don't always take care of their players and all that stuff. But you're absolutely right. People should verify things before they get, and sometimes in that moment people are getting emotional and they're whatever, but there's a lot of people too who make dire situations about themselves, and you saw some of that on Twitter.
Yeah, but what about the people that donated all that money, like $6 million to his kids' charity?
People.
I mean,
they're amazing.
That's what I mean.
People.
Let's talk about those people, not these like 1 out of 50 shitheads.
You know what I love about it too is it's a reminder, and I try to think of this all the time. There are a lot in that stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. There are probably, the people who just think differently, religiously, politically, all sorts of different ways of thinking and doing life, and yet in the humanity of the moment, people come through a certain way, right? And it's a reminder to get to know people. Now, people can have political views you can't overcome, or just whatever, and that can happen. But I'm just saying, like, you can also remember to get to know people, and that people are not monolithic just because they think a certain way or whatever. And there are a lot of really good people in this world.
That was deep, dude.
Thanks, man.
Ken Shu next. What's the outlook for MSU's offensive line in the fall?
Better than I originally thought, just because of Duplain and Samac, those guys coming back, and you get the kid coming, the JUCO transfer coming in. I thought they were going to be really young and really vulnerable, and I think they shouldn't be any worse than last year. Now, last year wasn't good enough. It was a big part of the problem. But maybe last year is like the baseline, and they've got some, they can be better, and so I think it's better than I thought it would be. I still don't know what it will be, though.
Scott Kalka next. Happy New Year, guys. Who wins a Big Ten championship first? Dante Moore or Caton Hauser or Sam Levitt?
So Hauser and Levitt, obviously Michigan State. Dante Moore with UCLA. This is a great question. I don't know that any of them. If you had to say, well, UCLA or Michigan State win it first, given the other programs that are in the Big Ten, neither one is likely to do it based on where both programs are. Dante Moore, slightly higher prospect. But here's the thing UCLA is going to lose out on, and here's my argument for Caton Hauser and Sam Levitt. UCLA has a very small fan base. They are going to be Northwestern in a lot of ways. First of all, they're going to have to travel a lot. But their home games are going to be road games in the Big Ten. Every team is going to be every fan base is going to be like, hey, that's the game we're traveling to. Let's go to L.A. in October, in November. And they don't have many people show up at their games anyway, so they're going to be playing a lot of neutral site to road games at home, and then also traveling all the way out to the Midwest. So I would take Caton Hauser and Sam Levitt.
Next one from Scott. What would cost more money to get? Assuming Cliff Kingsbury is let go on Monday. Cliff being Mel's new offensive coordinator, Jay Johnson moving to quarterbacks coach, or Steven Izzo doing Graham snowblowing the rest of winter? Isn't it winter over? Right, Eastlick?
Feels like it. Come on, Eastlick.
I hope so.
It's been a tough start for the weather guys here. The weather guys, meteorologists, I apologize, Eastlick. The problem with Steven Izzo in this argument is he's not a kid he comes from money. How much do you think it would cost for Steven Izzo to come over? Say and I told him there could be 5 to 10 times I'm going to need the snowblowing done the rest of the winter to get him to do it every time.
Every time?
How much would it cost?
It would cost you, if you want it done one time, I think it would be like $1,500 to charity or something. I think you would do it. Other than that, he would tell you to fuck off.
Maybe $10,000 for the rest of the. I don't know if he'd do it.
Why would you want to pay that anyway?
It's still cheaper than Cliff Kingsbury as the offensive coordinator.
Joey Shaver next. Going to London with my wife next month. Not a soccer fan, but want to check out the Premier League. Which match would be the most entertaining to see? Chelsea versus Southampton, Brentford versus Crystal Palace, or Tottenham versus West Ham?
I like that you got 3 London teams home on that weekend. That worked out, so you got some options. I would, I don't think this is going to matter a ton because there are pros and cons to each of these places. Like Brentford's a cool stadium it's a little more intimate that I think would be really fun. And if that wound up being, even though it's a smaller stadium, the easiest ticket against Crystal Palace, I would do that. I think that's a really fun, good experience. Tottenham and Chelsea, bigger. Chelsea's really cool. We sat way up high, but the other thing you can do is you can buy these hospitality suite packages where you get to do something before the game where you're they wine and dine you before the game, and it costs a little bit. If you're doing it once, it's kind of a fun thing. So I think it's about the seat you can get and to create that experience. I don't think it matters a ton. Look around in terms of tickets and opportunity and choose based on that. Because Tottenham is sometimes asked to watch, and then they blew out Crystal Palace the other week. And West Ham's not having a good year. Brentford probably won't have Ivan Toney by then because Ivan Toney's been gambling too much on English soccer games. Chelsea, Southampton, Stamford Bridge is a cool place to go if you can get a good seat. So I don't know. I would find the best ticket you can get at a semi-reasonable price or best experience you can create and go that way. Brentford, Crystal Palace would be one I would look at.
MSU Stan next. Favorite slot game at the moment?
What's your slot game? Do you play any?
No. That's more of a Treese.
What's hers?
She does Pegasus, something or other. She's been winning money, so I let her do the slots.
I play almost no slots.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I got a little money in the end of the night. I'm like,
I'll do it live. Like if we go to Firekeepers,
Yeah.
I'll throw some money in there.
And I tell you what, the one thing I love about slots is not playing them. I just love the energy and the liveliness of hearing them in the background. Like being in a casino. Like
And cigarette smoke.
If you go to Firekeepers.
I'm serious. I like the cigarette smoke in a casino.
It doesn't overwhelm me, though. Like it does at Firekeepers, it doesn't. I didn't come home smelling
because
like
they
smoke.
have high ceilings, right? Ventilation.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. You can just get a little of that nicotine kind of feel. I don't know.
Yeah.
Other than that, if we go to a bar, I wouldn't like it. But
right.
Casino, yeah. MSU Stan next with this one. What do you have the most respect for on the other side of the rivalry? Basketball, that is.
Or who? I would say John Beilein is somebody that I always. I mean, look. Obviously, John Beilein for a long time. What I liked about John Beilein is he didn't care about the rivalry. Like he just didn't. He was a ball coach who wasn't from around here and didn't get caught up in it and won at Michigan a different way. And I don't know. I enjoyed that side of things. I would say he's probably the one I would say the most.
MSU Stan, favorite concessions to get while at a Big Ten men's basketball game?
Well, at Michigan State, it's the ice cream cookie sandwich. But there's a couple places where I get a really good chicken fingers fries basket at Penn State. A couple things like that. Oh, I should say also the previous question, Sadie Washington, Lansing guy at Michigan. Love chatting with him. A lot of respect for him, by the way. But so I would probably say the chicken fingers and they have these little little nuts or whatever they are. They're like glazed somethings at Penn State. They're pretty. Yeah, I don't. Anyway, they're good.
Cockburn glazed. Steve Beckman next. Do I win something new for giving you more free content for your LSJ articles, or will I have to wait until Jason asks Treese to make me another custom T-shirt? I'm not going to let you forget about stiffing me out of the 2021-22 Pick'em contest championship prize either.
You haven't been stiff, Steve. That will come with when we put together the packages for this year's winners. So, very much appreciate you. But I also appreciate Steve because what Steve delivered was the numbers for how well Michigan State had covered the spread since 2015 in the alumni zone games, which I used in my quick take. So very much appreciate that, Steve.
Tyrone Couch next. Graham, if you had to give up one, which would it be? Donuts for a year, your wife for a year, or gambling for a year? Mind you, she does not listen to the show. I would choose donuts because Groovy Donuts does not deliver in my area.
Yeah, this is tough. My wife does not sponsor the show. Firekeepers and Groovy Donuts do. No, I'm kidding. I would, of course, not give up.
But my wife lets me do the show.
This is like which child do you?
It's gambling.
Yeah.
I mean, duh.
Yeah.
Tyrone Couch next.
No, but you're right. You know why it is gambling? Because financially, I'd probably be in better shape. and I can't give up Groovy Donuts.
Tyrone Couch. A friend's mother was catfished recently. Found out 2 days before the wedding.
Holy shit.
What? All right. Jason, what is the best catfishing moment you can recall? My dad buying $2,300 worth of video game cards and sending them to a girl on Facebook so she had enough gas money to come sleep with him is mine.
Holy shit, what a life.
You and your dad are talking about banging chicks, huh? That's awesome.
So do you have a catfishing moment?
I got to say, I have never been catfished because I could always figure out the bots and the people. I mean, Manti Te'o, that's legendary.
Yeah.
Right? I've never fell for any of that stuff. So I don't know. I don't really have one personally.
I've tried to, knowing somebody, I don't know if it's catfishing, but whatever they call it when, it's clearly a bot who's trying to eventually take you for money. I've tried to respond to them to try to take them for money just to fuck with them.
Yeah.
But that sometimes is fun for a minute, but I've never been, I don't think I've been always catfished.
Well, and it was basically for me, at least in the past 10 years or so, it was like, okay, do you want to hang out and get a beer at some point? So it was like, if they were like trying to get me to buy a gift card, I'd be like, okay, see you later.
So wait a sec, how far did you go down that road?
What road?
The road of like before you'd say, do you want to get a beer?
Oh, you have a little conversation. That's what Tinder was all about. You just swipe right. If you match someone, you say, hey, how's it going? You talk for, a night or so, and then you say, hey, what are you doing Friday?
So is that where there's a lot of catfishing on Tinder?
I haven't been in the game for a long time, thankfully, so I don't know.
I miss Tinder, kind of, because I think Tinder came out right around the time I met Elizabeth. I don't know. I never had a...
It's just easier. I just was never a guy that could go to a bar and kind of like approach a woman. I just never, ever good at it. So you get the small talk shit out of the way, and then when you meet, you pretty much have some common ground there. I don't know.
Some common ground there. That is a story almost worth telling, by the way, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue in downtown Lansing. An awesome place for a weekend Sunday brunch with the family or a date night. And I'm telling you, downtown Lansing, Midtown Brewing Company, it is. If you're looking for a place that's not just, it can be a great date night, great menu, terrific atmosphere, cool spot, and that's right here in downtown Lansing.
And here's a pro tip, by the way: if they ask you to go get any sort of gift card, and that not even catfishing, if anyone calls you and asks you to get some sort of gift card, hang the phone up.
Yeah,
pro tip. Tyrone Couch with this one. A friend's Mojo Jojo, excuse me. With his latest injury, is Zion Williamson officially as big as a bust as Graham's chair?
Oh,
Zion was a big deal because he was a huge guy, and I just broke my chair.
It's like a calf injury, right? So it's a muscle injury, whatever it is. So it's like 3 to 4 weeks at least.
Jesus, really?
Otherwise, he's been pretty healthy this year. They've been really good. The Hornets. No, I wouldn't say that. I think he.
How bad do you think that calf hurts? Like
with his
is it
size,
just precautionary? Well, I'm just saying, is it?
Oh yeah, because you don't want the Achilles or anything like that. I think it's a calf. Hold on, give me some off.
Oh, we need this answer now.
It's a.
Right now, either you're stuttering or I'm not picking it up because it's a little
hamstring injury. Hamstring.
Oh, thank God.
The hamstring. Yeah, you can't.
I wouldn't have been able to sleep tonight.
But you can't mess with the hamstring. You got to let those rest. Or they don't.
4 weeks. See you in 4 weeks. Mojo Jojo. NBA's better than ever. Visited Northwestern for the first time. Amazing campus and facilities. How do they not do better in recruiting, a la Stanford from 2010 to 2017?
Well, some of it is recent facilities where it hasn't even had time to take hold, like the football building or new stadium that's being built. But the football stadium that's being built isn't built. But the football building itself, I don't know how old that is now. It's not old at all. It's a good question, though, in the sense that if you look at that building, you're like, wow, that's amazing. Indoor, glass walls right on Lake Michigan. It's pretty sweet. It is a school where they are limited a little bit in terms of, there are some academics there that are different than some other places. Like Michigan will say, Michigan's a great school academically, but it's not harder to get into Michigan to play football than it is at Michigan State. Northwestern has some other stuff going there. You don't have the fan base. The facilities, and certainly the stadium has been sorely lacking. And so facilities-wise, that's really hurt them. And Stanford couldn't keep it up. And look, Northwestern has had runs similar almost to what Northwestern has done under Pat Fitzgerald's been pretty amazing. He's another guy, if Harbaugh goes, you got to take a run at him. Because at some point, even though they're getting the facilities, even though you got it made there, they've had some bad years lately. Do you just get tired of doing it there? And I think he's a really good coach.
Fitzgerald in Michigan? Is that what you're saying, if Harbaugh goes?
Yeah.
That's a hot take. You should have saved that for Sunday.
Sorry.
Mojo Jojo. Thoughts on Andrell Anthony transferring? Not a deep Michigan receiver room.
Yeah, I thought it was going to work out, obviously, for him when he had the big catch against Michigan State there. He didn't have a good year this year. I don't blame him for not wanting to, you got to go somewhere. He's a kid who arrived after the COVID year. He's got 2 years left of eligibility. That's it. So you go somewhere where you think you can maximize it. He's got a ton of offers all over the country, including Michigan State. So we'll see. East Lansing kid, obviously, and he's shown some potential.
Couch on Fire next. Is it harder to watch your team go down or the team you're rooting against win by the other team choking?
Team you're rooting against.
I'm confused.
Okay, so is this
watch your team go down or the team you're rooting against win by the other team choking?
So is this Michigan? Is it harder to watch your own team lose, say Michigan State, if that's what he's saying, or Michigan lose by the other team? Or wow, fuck.
Should have put this at the beginning.
Or the rooting team should win. Yeah, sorry. Yes.
Couch on Fire. Would you package the Lions' 2 first-round picks to move up for one of the top QBs or use them on defensive players?
What would you do here?
Whatever Brad Holmes wants to do.
Yeah.
If he looks at those quarterbacks and he wants one, he wants to trade up, I mean, you have to let the guy do his job.
The other thing you can
do, as long as it's not a tight end,
is you're in a long build here. Not a long build, but you know what I mean? You're not supposed to be done building necessarily after this year. I do like the use of 2 picks. If you feel at some point you may need to go get a quarterback, that can be really helpful. And you don't want to ever have a year where you don't have a first-round pick. So I would not be totally against trying to parlay one of those picks into another pick, extra pick next year, a first-round pick. You know what I mean? Like even kicking the can down a little bit and having that option a year from now. At some point, if you need to replace your quarterback, you may want 2 first-round picks to help you go do it. And I think the more you win, the harder it gets to do. So you're either going to do it this year.
But the quarterback thing is such a crapshoot.
It is, I know.
You can just win. If you get 2 defensive guys that can change the dynamics of that D, I would take the defense. But
so here's the thing, though. What happens? Let me give you the scenario that scares me. The Lions continue to grow. Jared Goff's playing well. But then it turns out when he gets to that divisional playoff round against a good team, they're not getting past that game. He fucks up. He can't make the throw you need to make in the big drive. But now you're already in your window. Now you've only got 3 or 4 years before you're in salary cap hell, and you haven't even drafted your quarterback yet. That's the fear. You got these windows in football that you don't want to miss your window, like the Colts missed their window, like the Bears missed their window. You miss your window, then you got to start over, and that's what scares me about it a little bit.
But we've talked about it before, though. The Brock Purdy's and some of these backup guys that are serviceable when you're solid at, and even higher than solid at offensive line and defensive line.
Let's see Purdy win a Super Bowl. That's what I want to see.
Yeah. All right. Couch on Fire. MSU player to watch for in Saturday's MSU Michigan game.
There are a couple things. One, I think A.J. Hogard in having a big game and elevating people is really huge. But obviously Sissoko and Hunter Dickinson. The other guy that I would bring up here is Jaden Akins, because before he went 1 for 5 from 3 against Nebraska, he had hit 11 of his last 15 threes. Shooting really well, playing a lot better, playing more and more minutes. I think he played a season-high 29 in the last game. Could this be a day where he has a game, like that sort of thing? But I ultimately think Hogard, he will be a huge, huge determiner in this game.
Spartan 18770. Why can't I sleep 8 hours straight anymore?
Getting old? Have to pee too much? Yeah, probably that. Do you sleep straight through?
With melatonin, yes.
But not on your own.
No, God, no. I can't get to sleep. I can sleep through stuff. I just have a hard time getting to sleep. Little 5 mgs of melatonin.
Yeah.
Some Skymint.
I'm the same way. Skymint helps a ton. I sleep like a bear with Skymint.
But I'm up at 7:30 no matter what goes on.
Really?
Oh, God, yeah.
But would you just naturally wake up at 7:30?
Yes.
Wow. So even if you go to bed late, you get up at 7:30?
Yes.
Wow.
At least to pee, for sure.
Okay.
Might go back. Too much information. Spartan with this one. Finding out other listeners live in Hawks Nest as well as me, we need to have a summer show tailgate in the neighborhood.
So Hawks Nest,
I'm in.
It's in East Lansing, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I'm up for it. Looks like a nice.
Can we golf? That's Hawks Nest, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking at the neighborhood right now. The official neighborhood.
Google Maps.
Yeah, no, just their official neighborhood website. I'm not creeping on anybody's house or anything. Huh? Okay. Yeah. No, that sounds like fun.
Singus X2 next. Have you seen this video of Michael Smith throwing 9-darter? Whilst I'm English by heritage, I don't follow professional darts or arrows. They call it arrows?
I guess so. I'm English too, and I didn't. Yeah,
but
I love that he said whilst.
But in this moment, it looks like the most thrilling moment in sports history.
Did you see the video?
I did see the video.
Pretty incredible.
But it looked. I just thought because those guys are really good, I didn't know that was like wild. Like it did look amazing, but I figured these guys are pros, so you can do that. But I don't watch arrows.
It's one of the great things though when you're playing like cricket and darts, and you get in that zone. That zone you're in. When you're buzzed but not drunk, but you've had enough. Like I've had it a few times where you're just like, oh my God, and then you're out of it. Like you get too drunk.
If I had Jaeger, I was dead on. Pool and darts.
I think I've
more boozed up, the better I was.
Told this story before, but when it was with my cousin in upstate New York in Buffalo, and he was in college. I was like 26, covering the MAC, covering Western Michigan on a road trip, and we went out one night with a bunch of guys from his intramural baseball team, and I couldn't miss. And I was the older cousin who could not miss, and it was one of the great nights of my life until I almost got pulled over for drunk driving. So that was not good. Don't do that.
No.
Yeah, I didn't. I was okay, but it was. I had to do. That's when I found out. I've told people before. I'm like Barry Sanders with balance, but slower, obviously.
Well, and the white privilege.
Yeah,
that got you out of it.
But like I had great balance when I had to get out of the car with a cop, so that helped.
Cucker Tarleson, better everyman sport to enjoy with friends: golf or bowling.
Where are you on this?
Well, it depends whether or not your friends are golfers. If you guys can have fun, or if they're a complete ass, it won't be fun. If they don't know how to hit a golf ball, but if they're good, you guys can play best ball. And I mean, it just matters.
To me,
bowling. Anyone can kind of do that. Golf is, if you're a complete ass, it's going to take forever.
To me, it's all about the company.
Right.
Like to me, the sport between the two doesn't really matter. I probably enjoy golf a little more. But if I'm in a foursome or with a buddy in a cart, that I like those guys, same with the bowling. You get around a group of guys, you're just bowling or whatever. That's bowling. I do think, however, is a great first date. Little pro tip, especially because the thing
that
about
in a hibachi grill kind of place.
Yeah, and basically you have to interact because what happens in bowling is you go past each other on every frame. So there's an opportunity for like little bits of touching, little interaction, high-fiving each other, congratulating each other.
Favorite movies?
No, I've done that. Bowling is a go-to for me early on in dates, for sure.
You imagine Couch trying to just breeze by. She's, oh my God.
It worked with my wife.
That's true, it did. Cucker Tarleson. Supposedly, only 40% of coffee drinkers experience the coffee poops. When I go to take the first sip of my morning cup of joe, I usually almost accidentally let one slip out. Do you get the coffee shits?
I don't have this problem, or I have real problems. I drink like 7 cups of coffee a day. I mean, I know it's a laxative and all. Like, I'm sure it contributes to things, but it's not.
Jesus.
I have a bigger problem with apples. Too much fiber.
I mean, if you're doing that, if you're almost shitting your pants, you might want to switch
something else.
Maybe to Folgers or decaf. I don't know.
I don't know that. I don't think it's the caffeine that. Yeah, you want to find something else. So yeah.
Eat a banana. Jake Hawkins next. Do you think Mel Tucker should or will use the transfer portal like Sonny Dykes did at TCU? Look where TCU is now, playing for a national title.
I mean, he did, and he tried to. And I think they have 4 or 5 starters that were transfers. But that's what Michigan State did. It's the thing about TCU is it's not that different from what MSU did a year ago. They were down in like 6 or 7 games by double-digit points in the second half. Like, these guys are there's some luck involved. Now, there's some grit, is Dan Campbell would say.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
And they got good players and great wideouts and all that stuff. But, Michigan State could have had this happen last year. Say Ohio State wasn't on the schedule and they avoided a couple injuries. Like, Michigan State could have had TCU's a year ago in the Pac. It's just not that different from what they were able to do in year one.
Where are we at? Oh, Jake. Is it going to be a challenge for Matty to guard and block Hunter Dickinson?
Yeah, but, I mean, he obviously had – I think what gives them hope, number one, is they're not going to leave him alone. But the other thing is he's risen to the challenge against Kentucky and Gonzaga. And so there's hope that he'll be more adept to do it. But, yeah, it's a massive challenge. Hunter Dickinson's a great college basketball player.
Next one from Hawk. Even with a convincing victory over Nebraska, do you still think this MSU basketball team is a bubble tournament team?
if they stay healthy, I don't believe they're a bubble team. And I think I've said that. Like, I think they're above the bubble. If they have an injury, yeah, this is a bubble situation. But to me, and I know when you look at like Ken Palm, most of the Big Ten is going to go between 9 and 11 and 11-9 in the Big Ten. I think 10 and 10 safely gets them in. But I just think their guards are better than some other teams. I think they've got some sweat equity. I think they'll do well on the road at places some other teams won't. And there isn't really much of a floor in the Big Ten. I mean, you got really one shitty team right now. So there can be a lot of teams losing a lot of games on the road. I think Michigan State's going to win some more of those, like they did at Penn State. But so I think they're better than a bubble team.
Last one from Jake. What are the chances MSU sticks with its current lineup on the court?
I'm curious to see what they'll do with Malik Hall. He's not practicing full go yet. It's going to take a minute. He talked today, and they usually do sort of more informal stuff, but they did a little more formal press conference style before the Michigan game, and that guy seems a little depressed by this year. Here's a prediction for you. Malik Hall's coming back next year. I can't imagine. I think he's frustrated that this is how his senior year has gone, that with the injury, and he knows that it's not going to be perfect all year. And, it's not going to be the year he wanted to have. Now, he may play really well by the end, but, my guess is he'll want to have another go at it for sure.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy next. What would Maddie need to do to win Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year?
It would start on a night like Saturday, or a day like Saturday. It would start with, like, owning Tucker Dickinson and really giving him fits and doing something like what you saw with Xavier Tillman late in his junior year, where he just shut down everybody, and that it would have to be something like that in a number of games.
Next from the Jerk Guy, do the Lions make the playoffs, and why does it seem to be that the NFL always favors the Packers, or is it just that NFL refs are ass?
So what are the odds that the Lions? I know what the actual odds are, but what do you think the odds are the Lions? This works out Saturday or this weekend perfectly, so they wind up in the playoffs.
Perfectly?
I mean, yeah,
12, whatever the number is, 12%.
Yeah,
I think that they can. I just don't believe the Rams are going to beat Seattle. I think the Lions are going to beat the Packers.
Okay,
I do think that's going to happen, but as long as we take Aaron Rodgers and the Packers out with us, I guess it'll be kind of a momentum builder for next season, I guess.
Yeah, so. I think if Seattle is in the playoffs. And look, the Lions.
No one wants to watch Seattle in the playoffs, by the way. If the NFL is fixing this shit, they want to see the Lions.
No, but I'm saying Lions fans. Half Lions fans are Kenneth Walker fans. They can deal with that. But Lions fans can also deal with Seattle being in the playoffs more than the Packers. You can deal with that. You can deal with that.
We have to pick, yes.
Yeah, you can absolutely deal with that. And the Lions had their chance against Seattle and didn't win that game.
Because the NFL refs are ass.
Okay, well,
obviously.
Yeah.
Jerk Guy. How will MSU ever replace Marco Coleman?
With another defensive line coach who everybody will think is great. I don't know, or they'll find somebody else. It's a good paying job. You do have to, they have a pass rush specialist, which you're going to work with separately, but I just don't think it'll be an issue. It's a good job, a big program. People will want the job. They will find somebody.
Next from the Jerk Guy. Why do we only have things that cause people fear and love, but not rage? Like arachnophobia or anglophile, but not for rage-inducing like Wolverina.
Oh, Jesus. The first one's peanut butter sticking to the roof of one's mouth.
Ooh.
That's a fear.
Couldn't we just say peanut butter stuck to the roof of your mouth?
Why? Yeah, who comes up with these words? Hold on, let me see what Wolverina is. Is that just a thing on...
I think it's a bit.
It's a bit, yeah.
Peacock?
Yeah, that's not a thing. He just fucking with me. God damn it.
Fell for it again. Jerk Guy, what do you think Rick Mahorn would do if a player nut-tapped him or one of his teammates like Grayson Allen just did?
I didn't realize Allen had done this again, but Rick Mahorn would...
Tapping bags?
Would grab you by the throat. Like,
any guy back in the 80s and 90s would do that shit, though.
Well, did you see what almost happened the other day with Draymond and Beef Stew from the Pistons?
Yes, I did. I was watching that game and went to bed right before Sadiq Bey hit that shot.
Oh, man. Jeez, yeah.
Well, because the commercial breaks, I was getting ready for bed. I was like, shit, I'm so tired. And I'm like, fuck. And then I wake up and see Sadiq Bey hit it.
Two incredible shots. But yeah, and I think it was interesting to watch Draymond because in the pecking order and sort of it's like a National Geographic show. In the pecking order, like Draymond's going to kick the shit out of Jordan Poole, but you could see it in Draymond's eyes. Like, he all of a sudden realized, like, this motherfucker's crazy.
It's like when
you're
you can tell someone's physically kind of more dominant. You're just like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
All right, but I got to save this reputation, I guess. Lastly, from the Jerk Guy, what's a meal that you haven't had in a long time, but you would like to soon?
It hasn't been that long, but just like 4 groovy donuts together. Just a nice little, really. No, what's a meal you haven't had in a long time you would love?
Big Mac. A Big Mac.
Oh, that does sound
Fries.
good. Doesn't that sound good? That does.
La Big Mac.
That doesn't
I'm going to go get one of those.
That sounds like good. The way home, wife's already asleep. She won't know. Plus, I chose her over gambling in the donuts, so I'm all good. We appreciate all of you and your groovy donut Twitter questions. Fantastic stuff, as always. Really enjoyed tonight's show. We appreciate Groovy Donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com, place your orders today, or stop by either location between 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday. That's in East Lansing on Lake Lansing Road and in Williamston. We appreciate Firekeepers, and great place to go this weekend to watch games. Just download the app and play the games along with us. Thanks to Skymint, of course. Thanks to Hopcat. We'll be back Monday night after the Lions-Packers, after Michigan State, Michigan. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch and Droop.